Welcome. Please get seated and get comfortable. Welcome to day 2 of the Sozosei Summit to Decriminalize Mental Illness. My name is Mary Michael, and I'm proud to serve on the board of directors of the Sozosei Foundation and to be part of the collective efforts to decriminalize mental illness. We learned quite a bit yesterday about how history can empower us to design for a better future. But I also want to think about, we must question a lot of the assumptions that we might have come into this collective, thinking environment. We've heard about creative designs so that we can think about what the future could look like. So before we get into what we're going to do today, I'm going to break the fourth wall, come over here, and something that struck me last night at the dinner was all the wonderful conversations that were taking place. And we had an opportunity to talk to people that we probably would not even interact with, especially on this particular topic. So I thought we could just take a few minutes. This is something I do with my son. I always ask him, so tell me what the top 2 or 3 things were of whatever adventure day that we did or a trip that we took and what have you. So I would like to do the same today. So I would like to ask not only our audience here in person, but those who are on the virtual platform to share what some of the key inspirations and learnings, and as you step up to the microphone to share your thoughts, what I would ask is also tell us about some of the assumptions that you might have come into this conversation with that you're now questioning. So I'm going to ask anybody, even on our panel. Laura?
Yes, well, happy to share. Thank you so much. The panels yesterday were phenomenal, and I took away kind of 2 really key things that struck me, particularly about ambiguity and being comfortable in ambiguity and using that to fuel creative decisions. There's a lot of ambiguity around 988, and I think we can harness that to really design a system that works for people in crisis. So I was very impressed by that. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Now, oh yes, please. Can you, if I could just ask you to step next to the microphone and share your thoughts.
I'm not shy, so, but I guess one of the things that we hear and we know is that when the mental health system of care takes on a gigantic challenge, and the other systems that help folks with housing, job development, disability and things like that, if they're not at the table and coming along, then the mental health system of care has taken on too much, and they're not going to be able to handle any of that. So my concern is that all of those and the powers that have the ability to bring them into the conversation are part of this conversation, so we don't just take on something and all of a sudden we've created an island by ourselves with a lot of social concerns that we can't handle. So that's it.
Thank you. That's wonderful.
So one thing that's going to stick with me is the idea of mental health emergency versus crisis. I think that was articulated really well, and I really appreciated that. So it's in my head.
I love that. Yeah, language really does matter. Anybody from the panel that wants to opine or share in addition? I was talking to Dan this morning, Dan Gillison, and he really implanted that notion of the quilt in my mind. And I think we're all part of that, creating the tapestry, if you will, as a collective. But we've got to think about what the collective vision is, and about creating solutions. And we have to come together so that we can have a coordinated approach.
So it's a surprise, but it's not a surprise. It's this realization that the government's not going to do 988. It's us, and that we're all here kind of committed to that. But it's this wake-up call. It's like, where are they? What are they doing? Keeping it hush. We now have to be the drivers of that change and design it to what we need. So,
great point. Also, what Vic said yesterday about community was huge as well. The role of the community, and I'm not quite sure if that has been represented in a lot of these 988 discussions, but it's so important for any of these solutions to take place, that we consider the communities that we're going into and not only include them and engage with them, but also empower them to support one another, which I think is a huge thing. So I don't know if we have any comments from the virtual audience. Any other thoughts? You know, we're trying to do a collective sort of, you know, look back at what we learned and what we heard yesterday.
Hi there, Debbie Plotnick, Mental Health America. And yeah, I learned lots and lots of things, but I'll tell you some of the things I loved best. I love the mom power. It's moms who make the change. It's moms who make those things happen. It's moms who say, you're not sending police to my house. And the other extremely cool thing is all the people in this room. Boy, you've assembled quite a group.
Thank you. Thank you.
My comment is really driven by, good morning, everybody. It was a great day yesterday. The oddness of meeting during the pandemic. So I think we're still trying to figure out how to do this. And so I think we should give ourselves an opportunity to understand if you're uncomfortable, why you're uncomfortable, and let's talk about it. So that's been the oddest thing for me throughout the entire pandemic is nobody talks about, we're scared to death. So, or maybe I'm speaking for myself. But that being said, it is a real thing, and it colors the conversation that we're having. And maybe the one thought that goes along with this is we other people who test positive for COVID, we other people who die, and as a nation, we other people with mental illness. So it's their problem, not our problem. But what we have to look at it is all of that is our problem, and the more we ignore it, the worse the outcome will be.
You know, that's a great point about othering other individuals, right? That we should really be inclusive. I love also the fact that we have included the lived experience, the lived voice, whether it's survivors or individuals who continue to thrive, right? And which is really amazing.
Well, funny you say that. I'm Harvey Rosenthal. I'm a person in long-term mental health recovery. And in New York, that's very important to us, of course. And we're working to make sure peers are manning the phones or womaning the phones. And also that should people need more than that, that there are these peer-run crisis stabilization centers and respite programs that people can go to. So I just got here, so I don't know if you already went over that, but I wanted to point that out.
No, thank you so much for bringing that up. And I think that really encapsulates a lot of what we heard yesterday as well.
The other thing just is that if people somehow wound up having contact with the police or what could have been the police, we talk a lot about peers and EMT as per the CAHOOTS model. So again, I don't know what you said it, but I just wanted it to be said.
No, thank you very much. And one quick thought from yesterday's panel, I think it was Steve that said it, you know, we don't have to wait for somebody to go through 4 years of undergraduate, 4 years of medical school, or 2 years of, you know, graduate programs. I mean, the thing is, we should try to get more people who really have an interest in supporting one another from a mental health standpoint and not make it such a burden, right? So I think that was huge. So listen, thank you so much for sharing. So as we go into today, we're going to dig into some topics such as what is happening nationally. And we're going to learn from a few states. I think yesterday we learned a little bit about North Carolina, but today I think we're going to hear from some case studies from Ohio and South Carolina, and also 2 cities such as Philadelphia and Boston. Philly in the house, yes. So Now, what's really exciting, though, is at the end of the day, we get to see really creativity with the Pechacuchas, which I think is going to be amazing. And we get to see the out-of-the-box thinking, et cetera, et cetera. And I think we might even be voting, right, as an audience. So you're going to help us decide which Pechacuchas or which organizations to support and which line of thinking. And then we will conclude our day with an evening of cocktails, conversations, and more right here in this building, right? Okay.